top glove, you can actually see that it went up by 30% in only 5 days. You can actually see this actually just spike up on the 15th of May. On top of that, we can see the same thing again, 15th of May. We can see Supermax, right? We can actually see that the stock price actually moved up by 15% in just 5 days, right? And I think the last one I want to highlight is also Kossan. You can see that the stock price actually moved up on the 15th of May. We can actually see it, the same dates, a lot of them actually spiked upwards. This one actually moved up by 7.8% in only 5 days. So the big questions right now, let me just put it back. So I'm going to answer two big questions right now in many people's heads, right? The first thing is whether, number one, right, why did the stock or why did the glove stocks actually moved up, right, during this period, right? And the main reason we can see, right, is that the US, right, they actually did a tariff, especially on gloves made in China, right? The tariff rates were between 7.5 to 25% on rubber and also surgical gloves, right? If so, basically, what's happening is like whenever the America were to import any of these gloves, right? Especially when it's China made, both surgical and also rubber gloves, right? If there is an increase in tariff, basically, your average selling price for gloves coming from China will be a little bit more expensive since America is going to charge a small little tariff, right? And what's basically happening is that when this happens, right, some are actually expecting that the demand for Malaysian gloves would increase, right? And that's one of the reasons why we could actually see on the 15th of May, a lot of these glove companies actually rallied, basically. And you can see some of them rallied by about 30%, and some of them actually rallied by about 8%, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, which I would like to highlight over here, is that whether gloves will move up back to the pre-pandemic levels, right? I still remembered some gloves actually went up 10x, right? Especially during the pandemic, right? And I have been, I guess, looking at a couple of analysts and what they've been saying, right? And one of the things which I've been reading, is this. Basically, there is companies, right, which their utilization rates for their factories are still quite relatively low, at the 50% mark, right? Number one. And number two, what's happening right now is that glove players, right, especially in Malaysia, they face competition from glove manufacturers all over the world, right? So right now, with other glove companies ramping up their production, basically we have to remember that gloves is a commoditized product, right? So if other countries or if other factories, right, or if other players were to produce gloves, right, there is more competition. So basically, when there's an increase in supply for a particular item, right, and the demand is relatively low, what's going to happen is that it may force the prices to maybe move downwards. So I think all in all, what I'm trying to say is that, we can see there's this positive spike, right? And part of the reasons why is that there is a tariff on China-made gloves, right? And Malaysian glove companies are benefiting from this, right? Whether it will move towards the pandemic levels, the prices, right? Relatively difficult right now with a lot of competition, number one. And when there's a lot of competition, basically we cannot price the gloves too expensive. When we price it too expensive, not many people will buy it So basically, when prices are relatively low, profit will be relatively low, right? So these glove companies probably will not go up the pandemic levels, right? I hope that you guys benefited from this particular small little episode. I know it's very, very short, right? I'm just going to see whether there's any comments, right? If there's any questions, right, please put it down right now. I'm just going to wait for a couple of seconds. Right. If not, I hope to see you guys in the upcoming episode, right? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that during this past couple of days, we could see glove companies going up. I already told you why gloves is going up, right? Whether the prices will go up to the pandemic levels relatively hard as I mentioned, there's many players out there, and when there's too much of supply, or when there is a lot of supply in the market, right? Basically, you cannot price your products too high, and when you cannot price your products too high, then the profitability of glove companies will be impacted.